Hi, this is part 2 of Guns N' Roses Illuminati warnings, and I would just like to say, if you don't know much about the Illuminati, first you need to check it out, because this is just, you need to know about the Illuminati, because I'm bad at explaining it, because there's so many details, and it requires pictures and stuff, and I'm too lazy, and I don't have much time, so just click on links below that I will provide if you don't really know about it. And anyway, I will be, in this episode or part, I'm going to analyze the Garden of Eden from Use Your Illusion 1. And this song is very eye-opening and really obvious, just blunt and obvious if you know a little background of the Illuminati. But the fact is, he's talking way too fast, well, singing or whatever, too fast, and you really need the lyrics there. And even if you do have the lyrics there, it might just go too fast for you to realize the meaning behind the words. So I'm gonna talk every verse, obviously, because I just don't want to use the audio not to get copyrighted. And so I'll start. It's a critical solution, and the East Coast got the blues. It's a mass of confusion, like the lies they sell to you. Now, this is really obvious if you know a little bit, like, well, not even. It's just really out there, like a mass of confusion, lies they sell to you. The music industry is selling lies. But I also feel that that this is like a mock anchor, like a news anchor, like he's saying it's a critical solution, and the East Coast got the blues. It's a mass confusion. Like just the tone in his voice in the song sounds a little bit like a news anchor, and I feel like he's basically trying to report what's going on. And the next verse, you got a glass-jawed toothache of a mental disease, and they be running around back, see 'em line up on their knees, 'cause a kiss of psychophants throwing pennies at your feet. When they got nowhere to go, watch 'em coming off the streets. Now I'm gonna pause there, even though the verse goes on. The beginning is kind of confusing of this verse. Glass-jawed toothache of a mental disease. I feel it's a metaphor to something that has to do with a mental disease. And of course, but I can't really put a finger on it. If you have any thoughts on that, you can add a comment. I was trying really hard, but I didn't come up with anything. I think it has something to do with like the toothache being like it can go away and it can be fixed, but I guess it has to do with truth. That's my theory, but I'm not really sure. That's why I'm asking for, different opinion. But anyway, the next part, I had to actually look up the word sycophants, and that's kind of surprising, because I didn't, Axl, he's always like the guy you think is the cussing guy and the one using bad grammar and everything in his songs, but he has some really like out there words. And when I looked up sycophants, it's a servile slave or a slave flatterer. So it's a person that is there to serve you, or is like a slave. And the thing that I can't figure out really is, why would they be throwing pennies at your feet? Because pennies are punishments from like the Catholic Church. And unless there's another definition. But, well, the Kiss-ass psychophants, the Kiss-ass slaves, are throwing punishments at your feet. Well, I think this has to do with the music industry and the Illuminati make demonizing, kind of ironic I'm using that word, but demonizing a celebrity that actually loves God and Jesus instead of their Lucifer. And so it's like they're telling the slaves or the fans to don't mind that celebrity. That celebrity's crazy. That celebrity needs to go to rehab. That celebrity this, that celebrity that, all the bad things that you can say about a celebrity. And that's what basically I think that means. And then continuing with the verse, while they're banging out front, inside they're slamming to the crutch. Go on and throw me to the lions, and the whole damn screaming bunch, 'cause the pissed off rip-offs are everywhere you turn. Tell me how a generation's ever supposed to learn. Now, this part, I had to look at it a little while. And the part that sticks out is go and throw me to the lions. Because there is a story in the Bible, I don't know what part in the Bible, but it's about how there was this king who wanted to be worshipped like a god. And Daniel didn't want to worship him, so he threw him to the lions and then to eat him because he didn't believe in him like a god. So it's basically referencing that. So it's basically like saying, throw me to the lions because I'm not going to believe in your God. I'm not going to believe in Lucifer. I'll be saved by God like Daniel was, I guess. And then the piss off rip-offs. I guess you can say the pissed off rip-offs are the people trying to get people into the music industry. They're everywhere, like agents and everything. And and they're also the people that put things on the TV that mind rape you, brainwash you, I'm not gonna say it, never mind. But and because they're everywhere. And then tell me how a generation's ever supposed to learn is pretty obvious. It's like, how are these kids supposed to learn to be good when all this garbage is everywhere? And that's true. And then here comes like this part that repeats a couple of times, and it says, this fire is burning and it's out of control. It's not a problem you can stop. It's rock and roll. And that's pretty blunt. It's basically saying that rock and roll has some bad things in it. Some bad messages. But in reality, all music does. But I guess it's because all of the music is starting to get controlled, really controlled, and only controlled. I think that it started mostly in the 80s when everything became controlled. I'm not sure about that. I don't know. But it's just that there's so many people that were original back in the day. And I was looking up there because I have a Beatles poster. Yeah, and sadly they were somehow controlled. Mildly, I think. Mildly. But anyway, continuing on. I read it on a wall, it went straight to my head. It said, dance to the tension of a world on edge. We got racial violence and who'll cast the first stone, and sex is used any way it can be. Sometimes when I look out, it's hard to see the day. It's a feeling, you can have it. It's not mine to take away. Now here you see a little bit of obviousness, like sex is used any way it can be, because that's true. Especially today. Back then, not probably, but not as much as today. Sex is being used everywhere to corrupt us, mostly. And the racial violence part, who'll cast the first stone, I think he's saying that like sarcastically, like, we got racial violence, who'll cast the first stone? Huh. Like, I don't know, you know? Like, he's saying that the Illuminati will cast the first stone to stir up the racial violence. And especially because a lot of Illuminati members are part of the Ku Klux Klan. And I know this from some videos that I've watched. I might put a link down there if I can find the video, if I remember where it was from. But something you should think about is that the Ku Klux Klan, the head guy or whatever you want to call him, is called the Imperial Wizard. So you might want to think about that. Wizard? You know, magic isn't really good. Anyway, the part that I was trying to decipher really was the beginning of this verse and the end of this verse. At the beginning, he says, I read it on the wall and it went straight to my head. It said, dance through the tension of a world on edge. I think this is like a metaphor, or maybe it's sarcastic. I can't really tell what this really means. I think it has to do with like him becoming influenced to become famous, or maybe he saw something that was just so ridiculous that it basically said, dance to the tension of a world on edge. Like, come to the club. Even though we have all these problems in the world, you can dance. Something like that, but I'm not sure. If you have any other suggestions, you can comment. And at the end of the verse, sometimes when I look out, it's hard to see the day. It's a feeling, you can have it. It's not mine to take away. I think what he means is when he looks outside, he looks all around, he sees symbols, he sees all this degradation of everything. Women, men, everything. And it's a feeling, you can have it, it's not mine to take away. Kind of confuses me. Because what feeling would we have besides, like, innocence that he can't take away? Well, I don't think innocence is an emotion. But maybe it's the feeling of, I'm dumb, sorry. It's the feeling of, that's not right. The feeling of, I don't know how to explain that feeling. What is that emotion called? The feeling when you just look at something like, that's not right. What is that? Why is that there? And it's not his to take away. And he knows that because the Illuminati is trying to take away that feeling from us. The feeling of, that's not right. They want us to be like, oh, everything's fine. Grit and bear it. But when in reality, nothing is fine.